It is good to have you back. If you are just joining us, this is Firecrackers. You've missed the first part of the program, but don't worry, you can catch up with us because we stream live on Facebook, so you can get onto your Facebook page to try to catch up with us. And now we will be talking about the supplementary budget and its possible effectiveness in ameliorating suffering of the people come ending of the year, come 2023. So let us begin with, on Monday, the FEC approved almost 2.2 trillion naira for supplementary budget, which later in the week, both National Assembly approved the budget. The budget has a lot of things that were catered on. Of course, a lot of Nigerians protested vehemently, especially when our lawmakers would be getting vehicles of 160 million naira each. And then there was also issue of the presidential yacht that has almost more budget than the one that was approved for student loan. But of the House of Reps, I would say, they did a good job in trying to cancel that so that they would not be totally insensitive to the plight of Nigerians. But from your own evaluation, would you say that this declaration made by the federal government, well, most of it is to fund the nation to try to make things better for the citizens? What is your assessment of it?
Firstly, I have a problem with presenting a supplementary budget of that magnitude about 60 days to the end of the fiscal year. In the next 1 week or two, the proposals for the 2024 main budget will begin to be presented to the National Assembly and defended by various agencies, organizations, and ministries. So how do you look at the yardstick to measure the priority or priorities that compelled or made the federal government to now pass, to even present these budgets and not move most of these items or some of these items into the main budget? That is where I, for one, and quite a number of other people are looking at. And by the time you look at the items on this supplementary budget, a lot of people have the impression that this is settlement for the boys. The executive level, they see, a lot of people say, well, the legislature have gone home with their SUVs and all that, and they have borne the brunt of Nigeria's reactions. Why not do something for the executive? Why do I say this? When you look at the entire items in this supplementary budget, what's the percentage of the budget that is allocated to needs, real pressing needs, in the face of Nigeria's economic nosedive? What is the percentage? Talk about the students' loan, 5 billion in almost 2 trillion naira budget, 5 billion. What percentage is that? Then, of course, when the backlash came up, the House of Reps quickly moved 5.5 billion allocated for the presidential lot to make it 10.5 billion. Then how much was allocated for the workers? 35,000 naira that will be given to each worker in the coming months. What's the percentage of 2.2 trillion? And what other, okay, of course, we had the money allocated for the Third Mainland Bridge and some other roads. At the end of the day, you now do the math.
Here, for the election, too.
Yeah, then we have the election. Then you have the monies allocated for the renovation of houses and lodges, presidential lodges, and I think some of the houses that were taken up from the EFCC. You have the purchase of vehicles for the presidential presidency, the pool, and some money allocated for the office of the First Lady's vehicles. Then the one that Nigerians didn't understand, the presidential yacht, which was which sounded like a taboo to Nigerians. Why should you talk about a luxurious boat at a time like this in Nigeria? But besides the comedic part, the comedy in it, which of course there is sincerely no comedy in it, the percentage of monies allocated for real needs is not up to 50%. And that is where Nigerians and people of goodwill keep asking the question, what is our government up to? The houses you're renovating, part of that money is also to build a new office in the State House. Will it be wrong to push some of these things into the new budget of 2024? What is the speed? What is the priority? What is the urgency of these vehicles you want to buy? And all this. That is why Nigerians don't seem to understand or believe their government. Because at the end of the day, when you tell a Nigerian to tighten his belt, you are not tightening your belt. Leadership is by example. What happened to the vehicles that have been in the pool? What happened in the vehicles in the former First Ladies that served the First Lady? Even where the office of the First Lady is not a constitutional office. Yet, still we see this 4-year or less than 4-year wastage. And it doesn't tell well of the government. And that's why you see a lot of people, if you take a poll today and ask how many people trust their government, you will be shocked to see the number. Despite their political, they will tell you, I don't trust the government. For legislators to come out and allocate SUVs to each person to the tune of 160 million per vehicle in the face of what Nigeria is, what does it look at? So the supplementary budget, the first and foremost for me is, was it necessary? And if it was necessary, what should have been prioritized? Then you leave order. Don't even move them into the next year's budget. We should learn. And as long as Nigerians and governments in Nigeria live the way this government is living, which is what exactly the past governments did, there won't be hope for Nigeria. Vehicles now, you now see billions budgeted for vehicles. Before you mention $1 billion naira, it will be like, wow, that's so much money. But you see where we have come to in Nigeria. It's nothing to say that 5 billion was budgeted for a vehicle. For vehicles, it's nothing new again. And Nigerians have kept hearing this. Naira keeps being devalued. Monies keep being allocated to things that are not necessities. Things that don't produce money. Production, the real sector is comatose virtually. Just watch your report of the small scale, small and medium enterprises. This is a sector in every economy that is the real economy. In India, in China, what led to the Chinese Revolution today is the small and medium enterprises. People who stayed in one room to produce things. And these things today are being exported to parts of the world, including Nigeria. You see the same in India. In America, they don't play with ideas. They have funds to support people that come up with all of these ideas to sustain them, because at the end of the day, this is what the real economy is. How much of ours is funneled into genuine production? It's left for you journalists to do the research and tell us.
Okay, now one of the renewed hope agenda, one of it is also to assist small and medium scale enterprises, which it is believed that part of the reason the budget is also humongous because things like that are also catered in it. And well, the president also promised that he is prioritizing Nigerians and that he is trying to make sure that Nigerians do not suffer unnecessarily. So do you feel like some of these grants that were promised to these small and medium scale enterprises, do you think that this is going to be effective in the long run, or is it just like a grope in the dark?
No, definitely. I always say this, all things being equal, like economists will say, grants have always been a universal vehicle for triggering economies to become great. Small businesses, when they receive grants, it's a universal thing. Most of the big companies today began like that. But you have to also make sure that, as they say, all things are equal, which starts with how much grants are you giving to the level of the business you are giving that will make some impact in that business. That's one. Will that grant that has been allocated really get to the person that needs it? Because some years back, we had that monies allocated are not monies released. we hear that so amount is budgeted for this. But when you come to the point, the practice of releasing those funds, you hear something else. So that's the second thing. Where they really release, how much are you giving them? A business that needs 10 million naira, you're giving him 1.5 million naira. How will he manage it? Then you bring back the money, you has to pay back with time. These monies are not for free. Are they really going to be released? How do you monitor it to make sure these grants work? How do you assess these small and medium enterprises that you have given these grants to? So that at the end of the day, you could see their books, they will have really increased, they will have brought in some impact in the economy. Don't forget, you won't give with the right hand and take with the left hand. How? You have to check the taxes. If you subject them to unnecessary taxes, at the end of the day, you wouldn't have given them anything. So my take there is, it's a good thing, but how do you monitor it to make sure the right people get the money, get the right money, assess how it's used, and it's paid back? Otherwise, we'll go to the era of the past administration where the women of the minister of social, is it the women affairs or something, the one that in charge of the National Security Investment Program, where that took billions of dollars to give. They said there was a national social register, which nobody knew how it was. It was made, I think, Mrs. Farouk also. And these monies kept going out to people that were faceless. Conditional cash transfers, as they call them. Many of the people that collected the money were ghost people. How did these people, the poorest of the poor, didn't have access to a bank account? How did you transfer money to them? Those are questions that I thought the new government would have asked, but that is by the way. So that's my take on this issue of small and medium enterprises vis-a-vis the grants that the government has allocated to give them.
Okay, and if despite the fact that a lot of objections came up when they said that they will be giving vulnerable Nigerians some monies to cater for the month, for a short period of a while, maybe before our refineries start working and all that. But one of the warnings that seems to go unheeded is how they would supervise this and make sure that the money is getting into the hands of those who need it, not those who do not need it, but then they are just getting the extra for themselves. If you would propose perhaps a method that they could have used to check to make sure that this money is getting into the hands of the vulnerable, what would you have proposed? Because we might still run into the same problem with the issues of these grants.
I had mentioned that earlier, because in the past administration came up with that idea. Of course, part of the 8 years of the Buhari government, we saw at the time the then vice president doing what we called how was it, the trader money, where how much was being given then? Was it 10,000 or so to the market women? How were those things monitored? How do you wake up to give someone 10,000 naira in today's Nigeria, or 20,000? What exactly are you looking out for? What will 10,000 naira do, if not to give him food for 1 or 2 weeks, depending on his level? For some people, the 10,000 naira will not pass 2 days. Okay, so let's take it to the list of the list. It will serve for the next 10 days for them. After the 10-day time period, what next? You see, for me, I've been in Nigeria for some time, and I never knew there would be a day in this country where our government will be transferring money to people in the sense of giving money like to a beggar. What are you doing for him? Let's look at that even from that angle only. You're bringing up another interesting angle, which is how are we sure that the money allocated even got to the people for who it was allocated for? But look at the whole idea. Look at the past 20-something years of democracy, and look at the poverty rate of Nigeria. What does it tell you about our government? That Nigerians are getting deeper into poverty. Otherwise, the idea wouldn't ever have come up that you would take cash and give Nigerians bashing, the Babiala kind of thing. I'm sorry, but that is the truth. You know why? What makes a man is how you empower him to fend for himself. And that is the duty of government, to put in place the pillars of an economy and get people to go into education, come out with some skill. Education is not just the certificate, but the skill that will let the person fend for himself. Create an environment where what I bring to the table, someone can buy it off me, and while I go out to buy another, that is what economy is all about. At the end of the day, what I produce for myself will feed me and my family. But here we are, about 24 or so years after the return of unbroken democracy in Nigeria, and we are getting, it's now becoming the norm to hand out money to Nigerians, and people are clapping. I will leave that to everybody. Some will say you are sitting down here, you don't know how poor people are. Incidentally, that's not true. I have seen poverty, I know how it is, but the truth is, will you say because he is poor, give him this? After that 10,000 or so you gave him, and at the end of the day, they say these monies will be given, like the trader monitoring, who has gone back tomorrow to say how many people return those grants, as it were. So I feel that we are still digging deeper. The hole is already there. Instead of trying to come out, we keep digging.
That is quite sad. I was reading a local daily that said this supplementary budget, the person, how do I put this now? The person, with the elegance of words, put it as an heroic declaration into a group in darkness. That struck a chord because it really gave room for reflection. And I sincerely hope that perhaps our government would try to reevaluate these things that they have declared, despite the fact that it seems like it's for the benefit of Nigeria. But it seems as if we are always having issues with implementation. The will might be there, but then to implement, that is where we are usually having problem. And it is indeed, it has really been a pleasure being on the show with you today. We thank you so much for staying with us. I hope you have learned as much as I have. And many thanks for enlightening us from your wealth of experiences. Thank you so much for being with us here today. And that's Ben Abraham, the founder of Zarifat Aid and a legal practitioner. Once again, thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure.
So yeah, this is where we'll be drawing the curtain on today's episode of Firecrackers. We thank you so much for staying with us to the very end. My name is Iribami Salako. Join us same time, same station next week. Until then, have a wonderful week ahead.